Hey, if you're in the market for a fast, super affordable manual focus lens for APS-C with a classic reportage style wide angle standard focal length, then here are two contenders. We have the classic TT Artisan 23 f 1.4 and we have the new 7Artisans 24 f 1.4. I also include a third lens, the TT Artisan 25 f2. You will see in a moment why. So my name is Thomas and today I'm going to compare these three lenses for you. Let's have a go. So I already made a review of all three of these lenses and I put the links up there. The first one was the TT Artisan 23 f 1.4, I think about 2 years ago maybe. The first of these, a little bit wider f1.4 lenses, fully manual, super affordable from any of these emerging Chinese manufacturers. And then came the TT Artisan 25 f2. F2 sounds much slower, but we will find out if that's really the case. And the third lens is the 7Artisans 24 f 1.4. I also did a review already. This one promises maybe a little bit more image quality and also a little bit more speed, even though these two are f1.4 lenses. So, which one is the best buy? Disclaimer, I got all these lenses from the manufacturers, so the two TT Artisan lenses directly from TT Artisan and the 7Artisans lens also from 7Artisans, so I can shoot these reviews for you. Price point, the two 1.4 lenses are something around $110, $120 or euros respectively, brand new at this time, well, end of 2023, and the 25 f2 is 69, I think, so it's about half the price of the other two. So they are all super affordable, which I think is a good thing because we all know life is getting more expensive. And you know me, I'm not the guy who believes that only expensive gear can do the job. So let's just very briefly talk about the finish of these lenses and the handling. Again, you can see all that in greater detail in my individual reviews. But both the TT Artisan lenses, they share these stepped apertures, clicked apertures. And they have sort of a hard stop when you focus to infinity. Note that sometimes, or most often actually, you have to adjust that yourself. There are small set screws here. This is maybe not for the faint-hearted, but you can do it yourself. And if it works, then this hard stop at infinity is very, very nice. The 7Artisans lens has, it looks much bigger actually. It has a stepless aperture and it also doesn't have the hard stop at infinity. You see, focuses a little bit past infinity, so to speak. So here is true infinity, at least on my copy of the lens, but you can focus past that. Stepless aperture. All three lenses come with metal lens caps. I like these more, the slip-on ones, whereas the little 25 f2 comes with a screw-on lens cap, and that's a bit annoying to use. Of course, this lens is the smallest, and the 7Artisan by far is the biggest of the three. What I do like on the 7Artisans is the finish, because all this stuff here is engraved. It's not just printed on. So in terms of finish, it's actually even nicer than the two TT Artisan lenses. But overall, they all three very well-made lenses. And they are all three also fully manual, fully mechanical, no electric contacts. If you want to use the IBIS of your camera, the in-body stabilization, then you have to set the focal length in the camera menu, remember. As you also can see in these shots, differences in field of view are pretty marginal, 23, 24, 25. I don't think that's really a reason to select one of these lenses over the other. And also in terms of distortion, they're very, very similar. Yeah, it is good to use Lightroom or some other RAW converter to correct for distortion. Remember, these are fully manual lenses. They don't have in-camera distortion like many autofocus lenses have, but the distortion isn't so heavy. It's pretty easy to correct in all three cases. About sharpness, I found this spot here with a sort of landscape sort of shot, and I run all the apertures. This is the 23 of 1.4. This lens produces some sort of a mid-frame dip. That means in the center it's always very sharp. Even at 1.4 it's pretty sharp in the center, and the corners also don't look that bad, but in between there is like a circle that doesn't look so sharp. You really want to stop down to f8, then you get a perfect landscape shot. f5.6 maybe still works, but avoid already f4. And this is the 7Artisans 24 f1.4. This is the biggest lens and also the newest one, so I had some hope that this lens would be a considerable upgrade in terms of sharpness, but actually it is not really. At f1.4 it's the softest lens, and then it sharpens up nicely, but still I would also suggest to shoot at f5.6 or f8 for a landscape shot. Then it's very good. The cheapest lens today, the 25 f2, yeah, it starts at f2, but it actually is kind of the sharpest lens of the three. So again, I would recommend to shoot at 5.6 or f8 for a landscape shot like that, but then it's really crisp and clean. And also at the more open apertures, it is maybe a little bit better than the other two even. Okay, this was the sharpness up close test. I just shot this thing here about half a meter distance. The 7Artisans is a little bit less sharp at f1.4 than the other two, the TT Artisan lenses. So overall, I would say the 7Artisan tends to be the fastest of the three. The TT Artisan 23 is maybe more like f1.6 in reality, but sometimes you see the difference and sometimes not. Don't ask me why, but it tends to be a little bit slower, but it is a little bit sharper at open aperture, and the 25 f2 is the sharpest but also the slowest, obviously. Let's compare the bokeh and also the speed of the three lenses. So this is the 7Artisans 24. And now I'm in exactly the same position. Normally the 7Artisans gives me about 1/3 of an f-stop faster speeds than the TT Artisan. And this is the little 25. This gives me a 950th of a second, so this is about only 1/3 stop slower. I do think that the TT Artisan 23 of 1.4 is a little bit slower than a true f1.4, and I also think that this lens, the 25 f2, is a little bit faster. So in reality, maybe this one's like an f1.8 and the others are more like f1.6. This is not super uncommon for super fast lenses. There's always not exactly the sort of difference in brightness that you would expect, but still, that's the reason why I include this little f2 lens in this comparison, because it's actually not that much slower. And also look for the bokeh, the difference is not that big. Now we took the portrait shot of myself, and judge for yourself if the difference in bokeh is really important or not. This time the 7Artisans gave me the shortest shutter time, or gave Takahiro actually the shortest shutter time, who was taking the picture of me, 8,000ths of a second, and the TT Artisan 23 of 1.4 yielded 7,000ths of a second, and the f2, the 25 f2, yielded 5,000ths of a second. But still, it's not more than like 2/3 f-stops difference. So keep in mind, it might be very important for you if you're shooting in a low light environment. Again, look at the bokeh in the background if you see any discernible differences that might matter to you. But overall, these three lenses are really pretty close together if you ask me. Sunstar. So the 7Artisans 24 has a 9-bladed aperture mix for 18 pointed sunstars. The TT Artisan 25 f2 has a 7-bladed aperture mix for 14 pointed sunstars, and this one, the TT Artisan 23 f 1.4, has a 10-bladed aperture mix for 10 pointed sunstars. So they look distinctively different, and you judge for yourself which one you like the most. Time for the verdict. This is the newest lens. I was pretty excited when it came out. I still like this lens, but it's far from perfect. Okay, I know all these lenses are like sub $150 or euros. You cannot expect any perfection. But when I look at the 35mm lenses that 7Artisans and TT Artisan make, they really have a fantastic quality standard, even in terms of optics. They're basically as good as the brand lenses. Like the older Fujinon 35 f 1.4 is not better than the TT Artisan 35 f 1.4, which says a lot about the quality of the Chinese offering there. But these 23, 24, 25mm lenses, they all still leave a little bit to desire. So this one has the problem with the mid-frame dip in terms of landscape photography. This one I find a little bit soft at a very open aperture, and this little one, this is actually my personal pick because it's just $69. I don't care that it's a little bit slower. It's a pretty solid lens, and yes, again, this is also far from being perfect, but at that price and also these compact dimensions, it's just sort of a no-brainer for me. And there's also a 50mm f2 that looks exactly the same, super small compact lens. These two make a great travel setup, just two lenses and a small Fuji or Sony or Canon EOS M body, or the Nikon ZF-C, for example. Between the two f1.4 lenses, well, this is just faster, a little bit. I don't see it in every single shot, but it tends to be like a third stop faster. So maybe it's worth it. And I also love the finish with the engravings and stuff. But if you've got this lens already, don't bother. You don't need either of the other two. Just stick to it. They are very, very similar overall. So I'm not super excited about any of the three, but I love this little 25 f2 a lot. Honorable mention, the Kamlan 21 f 1.8, I did a review, you can find it here, is actually sharper than any of these lenses. So if you're just looking for sharpness, if you're more the guy for sort of landscape and architecture shots, then have a look at the Kamlan 21. That's it for today, so I hope you found this interesting, maybe even useful. If you did so, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate your support. Many thanks. And if you've got any questions or comments, write something in the comment section below. You'll know I love to read all your comments and I will happily answer every single one of them. So have a great time, live long and prosper, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.